recall during that interview that Don Brooks stated that, go look down at, do you recall Don Brooks telling you and Miss Shaw to go look at the right side of Jamie Cadillac door and a gunshot, bullet hole in the door, something to that extent. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall Don Brooks telling you that someone robbed Jamie and tried to shoot Jamie, pertaining to that bullet hole in the side of my car, sir?
Yes.
Do you recall Jadon Brooks telling you that he knew that I was robbed before I told him about it?
Yes.
Do you recall Jadon Brooks telling you and Ms. Shaw during the interview that he was just playing me like he didn't know, but he really knew before I told him so? Do you recall that?
Yes.
Now, what went through your mind when Jadon Brooks told you, go look at Jamie Cadillac on the right-hand side and you see a bullet hole in the door?
What went through my mind?
Yes, sir.
Possibly someone shooting at you.
Did you investigate the bullet hole in the door of my Cadillac?
I didn't know.
Why not?
GBI, your vehicle was held with GBI, so they had access to it.
Okay. What went through your mind when Jadon Brooks told you that Jamie and a person robbed Jamie and tried to shoot Jamie?
What went through my mind?
Yes, sir.
Just the fact that you were in Atlanta and someone tried to shoot at you. That's it.
Did you try to find the person that robbed me and tried to shoot me?
No, because I could not. The report come from a third party, first of all. And you being the victim, you would have to report that to the police department get a police report for an active investigation.
How long have you been in law enforcement, sir?
17 years.
Are you familiar with drug dealers and street code?
As far as in what?
Are you familiar with, if you a drug dealer and gang member, it's a known code that you can't call the police up after me? Are you?
That's a leading question, and it's not relevant at all, particularly regarding society.
Now, you investigated other matters that Jadon Brooks told you pertaining to James Lewis, is that correct?
It depends on the matter. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. What matter did you investigate after you talked to Jadon Brooks?
That's a call for a narrative. That's society.
Did you investigate anything Jadon Brooks told you?
If I can substantiate it, yes.
Okay. Now, why didn't you investigate what Jadon Brooks told you about me being robbed and somebody shot in my car?
You did already answer that question. Society.
How did Jadon Brooks know someone robbed me and shot in my car before I told him?
That's a misleading question, and it's leading, and it's certainly misleading.
Did you ask Jadon Brooks, how did he know somebody robbed me and shot in my car before I told him?
I don't believe I did.
Why not?
I don't know.
Did it ever occur to you that Jadon Brooks knew who robbed me and shot in my car?
I believe he said he didn't know.
You didn't try to find out either, did you?
I couldn't substantiate it. Like I said, you are the victim of a shooting. It's reasonable that the victim is going to call the police and make a report.
Did GBI agent Stephen Foster find 140 caliber shell case in the backseat of my Cadillac?
I believe a shell casing was found in the backseat of your Cadillac. I don't know who recovered that.
Okay. Did the shell casing they found, do you know what the shell casing they found in the backseat of my Cadillac matched the 6 shell casing at the murder scene on Monterey?
Yes, I was told it did.
Did forensic firearm scientist Kyle Feely do a microscopic examination and comparison of the 1 shell casing found in the backseat of my Cadillac and the 6 shell casing found at the murder scene on Monterey?
I believe so, yes.
Did the 1 shell casing found in the backseat of my Cadillac and the 6 shell casing found at the murder scene on Monterey reveal that they were fired from the same gun?
They were matching shell casings. I can't say if they were fired from the same gun.
Did you ask him when they found? Did you ask him when they fired in the same gun?
It's hearsay, and I probably should object, because he said that's what he was told. Now, obviously, Kyle Fields testified, and what he testified to is a matter before the jury. So he's getting into what this officer, apparently was told, and that's.
Well, Your Honor, this is part of his investigation, all of them talking to each other. So it's relevant because it's dealing with his investigation. I said, did the 1 shell casing found in the backseat of my Cadillac and the 6 shell casing found at the murder scene on Monterey reveal that they were fired in the same gun?
I can't answer it.
Did you try to investigate to see if those 6 shell casings were fired from the same handgun, sir?
During the this part of the investigation, I was no longer on the investigation once the shell casings were matched. So I did not have communication with GBI at that time.
If you wasn't on the investigation, why you try to justify me?
I'm your witness.
Before.
Because I did do the investigation. However, right after I believe it was maybe in April, I was transferred from robbery homicide. During the testing of the ballistics and everything, I was no longer part of the robbery homicide unit. That's why I can't testify to what you're asking me.
Why did you testify to the allegation Mr. Darius Lanier made on the Michael Monterey murder then?
Because I spoke to Darius Lanier. That was during the time I was assigned to robbery homicide.
Okay. But was you assigned to robbery homicide when you testified at trial pertaining to me and Mr. Omar Ray and Darius Lanier?
Give me the dates on that.
When you testified for the prosecution, when he called you here the first time to testify for the same jury, was you working robbery homicide
no,
then?
no.
Okay. Well, what's the difference between I'm calling you and he calling you? You testified about an hour.
You're speaking in terms of the investigation. Now, I told you I wasn't part of the robbery homicide unit during that part of the investigation. Therefore, I wouldn't know about the communication or what the testing results were at that time.
Well, how did you know they found the shell casing in the match then?
I was told.
Okay, why was you told? Why did you ask if you were part of the investigation?
I don't know if I asked.
Did you fail to investigate the bullet hole in my Cadillac door because you did not want people to know that the same people who robbed me were the same person who robbed or killed Omar Ray and used the same gun?
Say that question again.
That's argumentative, Judge.
Well, did you fail to investigate the same gun to shoot Omar Ray? Is that why you failed to investigate the people who robbed him?
I did not substantiate that anybody robbed you. As a victim, you're supposed to make the report on that. You never made a report on that, Mr. Hood.
But you don't Brooke, did you don't Brooke make a report on it?
Yes, he did.
So you knew about it either way then?
Yes, but you're the victim. You're supposed to make the report.
Okay. But have you ever had a case where kids get abused and somebody make an allegation that
That's
the
a
kid
different-
That is an improper question.
You understand, we applied to an investigation. Did you fail to investigate the people who robbed me? Because you want me to get the death sentence out of revenge of police.
That's argumentative.
I'm dealing with investigation. I just can't see how they can't investigate a robbery and murders and they can't tell us that. I just. Do you fail to thoroughly investigate every case you want?
I could say no. I've been part of this unit for 10 years. In the process, we've investigated over more or less 60 robbery homicides or homicides. And most of them, a good percentage in the high 90s, have been solved.
Well, what's the difference between my case and the ones in high 90s?
We had,
That's argumentative. I think to start going into and explaining and go into all that, it becomes a narrative question.
What was the specific difference between my case and the other case y'all investigated?
I could not substantiate that you were robbed, Mr. Hood. You never made a report.
Is it you could substantiate because you never did investigate it?
He's asked that question numerous times in several different ways.
Okay. Did you ask the GBI, hey, go investigate the gunshot hole in Mr. Hood Callahan? Did you ask them to do that?
No,
Did anybody prevent you from doing that?
no.
Okay, well, why you didn't do it?
Because you didn't come and make a police report. I've answered that several times.
But Jadon Brooks, did Jadon Brooks tell you about that gunshot hole?
Respectfully, he's already asked that question a number of different times.
I'll sustain that objection.
Okay. You investigated Omar Ray case, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
How did you come to be involved in Omar Ray case?
I was called. I was off during the time the incident occurred. I was called in. I can't remember who called me in to investigate. I think it was maybe Sergeant Salters at the time.
What dates you were called to? What date did you get involved in Omar Ray case?
December 28th.
Tell us about your involvement in investigation, please, sir.
I was assigned as the lead investigator on the case. My involvement was basically interviewing witnesses, canvassing, victimology pretty much.
How many witnesses did you interview pertaining to the Omar Ray case?
Anywhere from, I didn't count them, but maybe anywhere from 75 to 100.
Did you enter written reports on those interviews, sir?
Yes.
What do you have?
Say again?
What reports do you have with you, sir?
GBI reports from Agent Shaw, where we sat in on interviews together.
Could you tell us about your reports that you have?
So that, I think that called for a narrative, just tell me about all the reports that you have.
How many reports do you have up there with you?
You mean how many pages or
How many
reports?
reports? Well, how many pages you have? Just tell us about the report, the reports you have up there with you. Could you tell us about the specific one that you have up there?
I mean, what do you want me to tell you? You want me to read them to you or what?
Tell us, give us a summary of the interviews you've done. What witness you have up there that you talked to about Mr. Ray?
Shane Blocker,
Only one?
Mark Bird, John Bush, Dana Chandler, John Kettner, Elijah Sims, Quentin Sainer, P.T.R. Davis, Sharif Sewell, I believe there was a Justin Sims, D'Amico Jones, there was a few more that I can't find right now.
In them people you investigated, report Jamie Hood as a suspect. They never mentioned Jamie Hood as the person that killed Mr. Ray a suspect.
No.
Did anybody you investigated tell you that Omar Ray was receiving death threats from other people?
Yes.
Tell us about the death threat that people say you received.
You know, that would be hearsay, Judge, for him to start going into what folks may have said. Proper way is if you had that, is to actually subpoena a particular witness and be able to test how they may know information or not information.
Well, it's going to the investigative. Okay. What investigative did you do off of those threats that you heard?
Well, let me say this. I didn't investigate this case by myself. There were other detectives leading these interviews at this time, so I did not speak to these people myself, but I did record things being suspicious or suspicious activities such as Facebook threats to Mr. Ray.
What investigative matter did you do pertaining to the Facebook threats to Mr. Ray?
Are you saying me personally?
Yes, sir.
Nothing.
Why not?
Because I just said we had other investigators doing that portion of the investigation.
Who was the investigator? Do you know who they were?
GBI actually did a search warrant for Facebook during that time. I don't have who it is on my notes.
Do you recall Agent Rebecca Shaw being involved as an investigator from the GBI of Omar Ray?
Yes, but she did not do the Facebook search warrant.
Are you searching?
Yes.
Well, who did?
I just said I don't know. I don't have their name on my notes.
Well,
You'll probably,
how could you be so certain that she didn't do it?
because I've spoken to her about it.
When you spoke to her about the case, what did y'all talk about?
That obviously is hearsay for her to just start going into what everybody talks about.
You know, I would object as far, I'm not asking the specific or the people we talking about, two law enforcement agents. He know who know, they didn't investigate and talk about this case, why he don't want me to mention that light?
Objection sustained.
I also like to state for the record, I object as for a continuous objection, that I can't ask questions that are relevant to the investigation of the Omar Ray murder.
Objection's noted.
Well, Mr. Clark, how can we find out the truth if y'all don't know that?
And that certainly argumentative.
Sustained.
Did Mr. Malone tell you to come up here and don't answer certain questions before you come in here?
No,
Who you talk to and told you don't answer these questions?
nobody.
Did you take some type of strong medication to keep you from answering my question?
There's no basis for him to ask those type of questions.
Sustained.
You know, I just can't understand why they can't answer questions pertaining to an investigation.
Ask another question.
So, what did you and Ms. Rebecca Shaw talk about as far as specifically you and her about the Omar Ray case?
At what point?
I thought that was what I just objected to.
That objection has recently been sustained.
How many times Mr. Malone told you to come in and don't answer certain questions pertaining to an
Zero.
investigation? Very good. Did somebody say something?
He said zero.
When the last time you talked to Mr. Malone about the Omar Ray case investigation?
I guess, before the trial?
What date before the trial?
I don't know.
How you don't? How you don't?
I don't know the date.
Did Mr. Ball tell you to forget the date?
No. I would object to that, that's been sustained.
Okay, who were the people that you interviewed reported threat pertaining to Mr. Ray? Reported threat, who were the people?
Quentin, looks like Quentin Sainer reported a rumor to me of what he had heard.
Did you do an investigation on that, sir?
Well, the rumor was that Omari robbed some Mexicans, and this was retaliation for robbing the Mexicans.
Did Mr. Snyder ever, did he ever say anything about Jamie Hood?
No,
Okay. Prior to March 22nd, 2011, during your investigation, did you ever hear anybody mention Jamie Hood as far as a suspect in the Omar Ray case?
no.
During your investigation, did you find any physical evidence as far as DNA, fingerprints, palm print, shoe prints, or blood at the Omar Ray crime scene that matched the Jamie Hood?
No. No.
Excuse me, I couldn't.
No.
I have no further questions at this time.
Let me ask you if I can, Detective Clark, about this interview with Jadon Brooks on March the 28th, 2011. That was you and Agent Shaw, is that correct?
Yes.
And as I understand, at that time, the defendant asked you about this, he wound up asking you about, Jadon Brooks said that Jamie Hood had been robbed, right?
Correct.
But basically what it was Jadon Brooks was telling you that Jamie Hood said that he'd been robbed. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
We listened to the interview of that,
That's
didn't we?
misleading, because the video clearly stated that he knew before I told him. So that's misleading. So Jadon knew I was robbed before I even said something about it, so that's misleading.
Overrule the objection, allow the question.
In fact,
I make objection, Judge, for the record, or continuing objection, you allow him to ask these misleading questions for the record.
No.
Your Honor, that certainly was not misleading. In fact, I'll cover that in my problem. And during the break, we watched the video, what portion of the videotape of Jadon Brooks, did we not?
That's correct.
And at that time, Jadon Brooks talked about how Jamie Hood had indicated that he had gone down to Atlanta with somebody, right?
That's correct.
And Jadon Brooks told you that Jamie Hood had told him that while he was down there, that both those guys had been robbed, right?
Yes.
And that was in Atlanta, correct?
That's correct.
And there was an indication that other person was in the car with Jamie Hood at the time that happened, right?
Yes.
And from the impression of what you heard in that, what Jadon Brooks was saying, there was an idea that these folks were outside the car at the time of any shots being fired.
I
If
object
in
to
fact
that
they've been fired, isn't that
I
correct?
object to that speculation. That speculation,
I'm going to sustain that objection.
The indication was that there were two folks in the car, Jamie Hood and the person he took down to Atlanta, correct?
That's correct.
You know of any report that Jamie Hood ever made in Atlanta or up here about being robbed anywhere?
No, I don't.
And the indication about what Jamie Hood knew, or that Jadon Brooks knew, what he was, from that interview, what it was Jamie Hood apparently had told Kenyatta about it
I object to
before
that
he told.
speculation. He can't say
All right,
what
Your Honor,
I
let's
say,
play.
he don't know.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to go ahead and play that section of that video right now that he's talking about. If we can, let me pull that stuff, and we'll pull it right now.
Let him pull it.
I'll play that particular part of it.
Just a moment, just a moment.
Your Honor, I never mentioned, Jadon never mentioned that Jamie said Kenyatta Campbell told him he robbed. That's misleading. It's told that misleading, he know it, he's trying to
be played would be those particular sections.
Okay. 1338. 1338.
Man, I been hearing this other bogus story that he been mad because we took a drug conviction from him. Y'all know y'all heard him.
One in Atlanta.
Yeah, there's a drug conviction around that. It's so bogus. When you see the Cadillac, and y'all go look at it, you got pull over there, right? On the right hand side, just go down the right hand side, you see pull over there. These so-called people that James Ford been in prison with is supposed to be his connection. He took somebody up there and got robbed. These people not only robbed the person he brought the money, they tried to shoot James too. You know what I'm saying? These people were no people that had no, you know what I'm saying? If you go see the Cadillac, they got put over on the side, James had to free off and get away from it. You know what I'm saying? When you go to the Cadillac, they look down the side of it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all see, it should have two bullet holes.
At 1436, Gunner. We're gonna go 2238. We're gonna go 2238 and 2330. That what you got, sir?
My son, they called me from the 338 number, he was like, hey, you know, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell them to these people I got need to know. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay. I ain't thinking that nothing, but I had no intention of dealing with you, man. I know what happened when you took them folks up to him. Now, you know, he don't know, he eventually told me. He eventually did tell me. He eventually did tell me. You know what I'm saying? I had been no heard, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I was just playing him like I didn't know then. What was that called? It was something like, Jimmy, what the hell was it called? And then we came, they were telling me about what had happened with you. I was just playing stupid like I didn't know what had happened, you know?
Yeah.
Took somebody over, he took it with him. No,
I would like to renew my objection as far as misleading. He just heard Jadon Brooks said he knew I had been robbed before I told him. He was just playing stupid like he didn't know. And he never did say nothing about no 10-yard camera one time during that interview.
That's the witness on cross. The fact of the matter is, what he wound up telling you was, that he indicated that he took somebody down there to Atlanta, right?
Yes,
And it was when they down there that they both got robbed, right?
that's
And
correct.
that they were basically that he was fleeing away, and that's when they were shot at. Isn't that correct?
That's what was said.
And Kenyatta and Jadon Brooks was talking about how he just thought that was real bogus, wasn't it?
Yes.
I object to this mislead again. It's speculation because bogus. How can he say it was Jadon fault? Jadon never mentioned the word bogus.
He did say the word bogus. What did he do?
Okay, I didn't recognize bogus. Still don't matter.
And Jadon Brooks wound up saying, yeah, he kind of heard about it, but he didn't indicate that he'd heard it at all because he knew that it actually happened, was it?
Say that again.
When Jadon Brooks indicated that he had heard about it, not because he actually knew that it actually happened. Isn't that right?
Just speculation. He can't know it exactly how he know about it.
Jadon Brooks was telling you it was bogus in his mind, right?
That's correct.
When he played loft, when all of a sudden Jamie Hood started, he was the one who was telling him about what he said would happen down in Atlanta, right?
That's correct.
From this drug connection and everything, correct?
That's correct.
If there's any report, it's anything out of Atlanta, right?
It would be out of Atlanta, but there was no report.
But there wasn't any report that you ever knew of out of Atlanta or Athens or anything like that, was there?
That's correct.
And from your understanding about Jadon Brooks talking about the defendants fleeing, would give you the understanding that somebody would have been outside shooting,
I jump
right?
speculation, Your Honor. He never did say what they were shooting at, so he's speculation.
Jadon Brooks never indicated to you that somebody who may have, that Jamie Hood was saying that he was somehow robbed from, was inside his car, was it?
No.
I object again to your speculation. He can't say what he thought or what he was because he wasn't there. It's still speculation.
Rule without objection.
John Brooks never told him that Jamie Hood said that somebody was inside his car, did he?
That's correct.
In fact, he indicated the person was inside his car. There was somebody else inside his car at the time he, quote, was robbed, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Brief. Detective Claude, do you know who robbed me?
I don't know if you were robbed.
Okay. Do you know where I was robbed at?
I do not.
Answer that question.
But you do know Jadon Brooks said that somebody robbed me and shot in my car. You know that. Do you know that?
Shot at your car.
Okay. Shot in my car.
Shot at your car.
What? Do you know that Jadon Brooks said that I was robbed and somebody shot in my car or at my car?
At your car.
Okay, but do you know about it?
From Jadon, yes.
No further question.
Nothing else?
Anything else?
That's all.
Excuse?
That's
Yeah,
it.
you can be excused.
Excuse, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next witness. I'll remind you about Assistant Chief Green.
Oh, yeah. Let me go and get
I
my.
just-
I know you.
I'm gonna let everybody know, the media has moved the microphone, we've had it several places, but it's now right here in front of the jury, which should be an issue because y'all are talking anyway, but I'm just letting you know that, because it's very sensitive. That's all.
Mr. Green, can you please raise your right hand, sir? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give to the court and to the jury on the matter currently pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth, so help you God?
I will.
Please take a seat, sir. Could you please state your first and last name for the jury in court, please, sir?
Carter Green.
Are you a certified police officer or law enforcement officer in the state of Georgia?
Yes, I am.
Could you tell us, how you got your certification and how long you have your certification, please, sir?
I went to the Georgia Post Basic Mandate course in 1984. Been a sworn certified officer with the Athens Police Department and Athens Clark County Police Department since 1984. Currently serve as the Assistant Chief, the Athens Clark County Police Department Operations Support Bureau.
Okay, was you employed with the Athens Clark County Police back on March 22nd, 2011?
Yes, I was.
Have you done any type of investigation on the police shooting incident pertaining to this case, sir?
No.
How about, have you done any investigation on the audio and video camera officer, Tony Howard car, sir?
I asked Richard Leader to check a server that we downloaded the audio files to back this spring.
Okay, how did that come about? Could you tell us how that happened?
I met with Mr. Malden prior to this trial. He asked me about the videos in Tony Howard's car. I told him that video, if there was video, it would have been downloaded to a server that no longer was functioning, but that we had transferred all of those videos from all the cars that had downloaded to that server over to a new server, and it was all being stored as a historical file.
Okay. When did you meet with Mr. Malden about this audio and video off Howard's car?
Pre-trial appointment I had sometime this spring. Went back to the police department and I asked Richard Leader, who is in our information management division and is in charge of our mobile laptops and in-car camera systems, to go back and check that server to see if any video existed from Tony Howard's car from March 22nd, 2011.
Yeah, if I may, did you tell the instruction about, I'm calling my order because
No, I didn't. Members of the jury, Assistant Chief Green is being called out of order. He was to be out of town and still to be out of town, was actually come back from this, so, just call him out.
I'm sorry, could you explain that again? I got caught off track, sir.
Yes, sir. I went back to the police department and I asked Richard Leader, who is in the information management division under my bureau, to check the server that we had stored all the in-car video cameras on for Tony Howard's car for the date of March 22nd, 2011, and to see if any video existed from his in-car camera from that day.
What did you find?
He told me that there was no recordings from his camera on that day. The most recent recording he could find was from January of that year.
Was that recording, was it burnt on video to a DVD and provided to the district attorney office?
The January recording from that recorder was.
Do you know what date and time that it was presented to the district attorney officer?
I don't know the exact date. It was shortly after my meeting with Mr. Malden. We determined that was the only video that was in the server under his name was from that January recording.
Okay, prior to that, sir, did anybody ever ask you to try to find it at an earlier date?
Not that I recall, no.
So there have been about approximately 4 years later, they asked you to look at that, approximately 4 years later, they asked you to try to find it 4 years later?
Ask me personally, yes.
This case happened in March 2011, and it was March 2015, the prosecutor told you to look at that.
Yes,
So around 4-ish, maybe 4 years.
yes.
Did you find it strange they asked you to look for this videotape 4 years later?
Well, no, because that's my current position. At the time, that was not my position.
Just in general, on any investigation, do it take them 4 years to look at audio and video camera lookers?
Well, if it had existed at the time, it may have been downloaded and burned to a CD and stored in the evidence, if it had existed at that time.
Okay. Is it possible that it existed, somebody downloaded and burned it and didn't nobody know that about it?
I don't know about that. Nothing that I was told that occurred now.
So prior to this March investigation, did anybody ask you to look at it before the end?
No.
Are you familiar with former police chief Jack Joseph Lumpkin?
Yes, I work for him.
Did you ever hear him say anything about this audio or videotape at any time, sir?
I never had any conversations with him about it now.
Did you talk to the district attorney, Mr. Ken Long, prior to March 2015 about anything pertaining to this case?
Not that I recall.
Why would he call you 4 years later to request you and he had never talked to you before?
My,
Can't answer that question.
Same.
And again, who was that officer, Mr. Leader?
yes, Richard Leader,
Was Richard Leader?
also known as Alex. Alex Richard Leader.
Okay. Did you, after Mr. Leader burnt the video to a DVD, did you have the opportunity to watch that?
Yes.
Okay, could you tell us what you saw when you watched it?
The video that he was able to download and burn was a short clip of in-car camera from Tony's car going up the street. I believe it was en route to what was going on. It was a pursuit at the time in another location, as I recall.
Okay, did you hear any sound on that particular video? Did you hear any sound on that?
If I recall any sound, it may have been his siren on his car.
So it had audio and video going is what you
Best I recall, I just looked at it one time.
Other than that, have you had
concerns the police department had was, just to find out, was whether or not there was any video running in Tony Howard's car at the time, isn't that correct?
No, I'm sure there was, yes.
And in fact,
I
at that time, that,
object to speculation, if he had never, if he didn't investigate this case and he didn't have no involvement in the case, that'd be hearsay. Because he couldn't know what the investigation was going on, he wasn't involved in it until he called him, that's hearsay. Speculation. How could Chief Green know what was going on and he never was involved in it until March 2015?
I'll sustain the objection.
in March of 2011, what was your position, sir?
I was East Precinct Major.
And did you wind up going to the scene of the investigation?
Yes, I
of the
did
incident that
respond to
happened
the
at
scene.
Sycamore? Is
I
that
did
correct?
respond to the scene.
And as far as your position over East Precinct, were you in a supervisory role, is that correct, sir?
Yes,
And were you part of the command staff in that regard?
yes,
And certainly one of the concerns was to find out if there was a video that was there to basically be used as evidence to be able to see, to make sure you know exactly who it was that basically shot Officer Howard and Officer Christian, isn't that correct?
yes,
Wasn't it your understanding then that basically Kyle Blagg had basically tried to download that and found that there was no video at the time, isn't that correct? Is that what you
I
understood?
object that hearsay. He said he didn't have no involvement of an investigation in that video to 2015, so he wouldn't know what Mr. Blagg did or not do.
He indicated, Judge, about, don't you think it's strange that you didn't ask about this, or you didn't find out about this until March of 2015, and basically go into basically what happened at that time?
I'll allow the question if he knows.
would you repeat that, Mr. Mullin?
Your understanding that efforts had been made to try to download a video from Tony Howard's car and that there was no video. Wasn't that what you understood back from March of 2011?
My understanding is that Kyle Blagg, who was working in Information Management Division at that time, was the individual that removed the server from Tony's car and took it back to the police department. And that there was no video of that incident on his server.
And what my request to you was, particularly, was to make sure was that what was the last video that was on Tony's car, isn't that correct?
That is correct. That is what you asked me to determine.
Because basically it was learned that the hard drive, if anything had been downloaded, it would still be on the hard drive, correct?
You would download it to a server, yes.
And you asked Richard Leader, also known as Alex Leader, Officer Leader, to basically go into that and go into the storage system and see the last video that was downloaded from Tony Howard's car. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
You were the interim chief at that time, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
And at that time, as the defendant asked you on direct examination, Officer Leader reported back to you that the last video was from January the 19th, 2011.
Correct.
Downloaded off Tony Howard's car into the server, isn't that right?
That is correct.
And that's the one you said that you watched.
Yes.
That particular video from January 19th, 2011 of some sort of pursuit with Tony Howard's siren work.
That is
Isn't
correct.
right? Your understanding, there was efforts done and made to investigate that and look at that back in 2011, right?
Yes, my understanding was that it was looked into at that time.
Now, in your position as a police officer, you've been a police officer, certified police officer, how long now?
31 years, August 15th.
And during that time, you authorized to carry firearms, sir?
Yes, sir.
And as part of that, as a certified police officer and carry a firearm, were you required to basically be qualified every year as far as firearms?
Yes, sir.
And as part of that, do you go to a particular, well, just tell me, how do you go about being qualified for firearms? What do you wind up having to do?
We go out to the pistol range and we have to shoot a qualifying course with our duty weapon.
And basically, when you do that, you fire weapons out of your duty weapon, which is semi-automatic.
That is correct.
And as part of that, you're required to wear protective goggles, am I correct about that?
The eyes and ear protection, yes.
And the goggles there in particular to make sure that the casings that come from your gun don't wind up hitting you in the eye, right?
That is correct.
And you've had occasion over the years where you've shot those weapons in qualification where casings have wound up in articles of your own clothing. you were out there going through your qualification on firearms, right?
Yes, I've had them eject, hit my arm, bounce back onto my clothing, yes.
And you know Officer Tony Howard, do you not?
Yes, I do.
You've known that since he's been employed with the Aspen Park County Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Did you really know him before that at all?
No, sir.
And right now, his particular assignment is what with the police department?
He is in the Office of Professional Standards, conducting background investigations on applicants, recruitment and hiring, and internal affairs investigations occasionally.
And during the time that you've known him, have you gotten to know really what people have said about him concerning his peacefulness, about how he basically handles folks?
Yes,
As
sir.
an officer and so forth?
He worked weed and seed while I was the East Precinct Commander, which was on the road in the East Precinct frequently. And I had occasions to meet with people at community meetings and other gatherings where Tony worked. And he's always been spoken of very highly in terms of his community efforts, his community-oriented policing efforts, his interaction with the community has always been very positive comments back to me.
His reputation for peacefulness was one that he was a peaceful person, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
And you've never, over any period of time that you talked to those folks, ever heard of him ever being somebody who basically used force inappropriately. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And you're aware of his reputation for truthfulness too, isn't you?
Yes, sir.
And the reputation he has in the community in which he served is one of being a truthful person. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'd like to see the defendant exhibits 35, 34, 32 through, 36, 37?
Please say it again.
Ma'am,
Please say your numbers again.
what is it? 32, what's it, this could be 32. What we got here? 30, what, 37? 30 to 36. Oh, 37 right now. Exhibit 30 to 36, ma'am. Ms. Lee, sir, how long you say you been officer at Aspen Park County?
30 years, be 31 in August.
Say you done heard pretty good things about Tony Howard, that negative about Tony Howard, that's correct, is that what you just told the jury?
Yes, sir.
All right. You also told the jury that you think you done heard Tony Howard a pretty honest guy.
Yes.
Did you tell the jury that Tony Howard, you know, no acts of violence about Officer Tony Howard, that's correct, sir?
That is correct.
I'd like for you to look at the defendant exhibit 34, please, sir. Could you please review defendant exhibit 34, please?
Okay.
Have you, I'd like you to review the entirety, please, sir. Can you see it, sir?
Yes, sir. Sheriff's Office, disciplinary action.
Okay. Do defendant exhibit 34 says that, do this present anything that Officer Howard making a false statement during an administration investigation, do they say that?
Yeah, making false statements during an administrative investigation.
Right here, how about the little red laser? Can you see
Right,
that?
making false statements during an administrative investigation.
Okay. Does this say, do defendant exhibit 34 says Officer Howard
Correct.
Is that an act of truthfulness? You get suspended for maybe false investigation during administration evidence. Do you consider that an act of truthfulness?
Well, this was at the sheriff's department before he came to the police department. I don't know anything about this, but that's what this represents.
As far as what you see right here, the defendant is in the 34, that's an act of truthfulness.
That's what he apparently was disciplined for, yes.
I think you misunderstood the question. I said, does defendant exhibit 34, is that an act of truthfulness? As far as this defendant exhibit 34 on Officer Howard?
Whether he can, I don't think he can answer that question about what the exhibit represents. I would object on it.
Yeah, this exhibit says he was suspended.
Yes,
Yeah, this exhibit said he was suspended for making false statement during administrative investigation.
that's what it says,
Do
yes.
you consider this exhibit right here, what you see, an act of truthfulness?
I don't think he can offer that opinion. He can ask him whether or not that his opinion changes because of that. That's the only thing he can ask.
This is my new judge. I just roll on. I'd like for you to look at defendant exhibit 35, please, sir. Review that, please, sir.
Okay.
Review this.
Okay. Okay.
Does the defendant exhibit 35, does this exhibit says that Officer Tony Howard, well, on April 28, 2000, Deputy Lindsay gave Corporal Howard the finger and said, fuck you. Corporal Howard told Deputy Lindsay, you either gonna whoop my ass, I'm gonna whoop your ass, or whoop yours. Because I'm not gonna tolerate you putting your hand in my face and saying, fuck you. And shoot me a bird when I'm on delivering the message. I should just go ahead and hit you in your head. This action violates Clark County Sheriff Office Standard Operating Procedure, Section Organization, Subsection Policy Ethics, Paragraph 8. Each supervisor will use tactic in giving orders and in correcting mistakes in order to inspire confidence and what's that? I can't pronounce it. Okay. Sir, what do you think about that?
It appears he got a counseling statement for his behavior that day.
Did he say he was gonna get another officer in the head in this statement? And this exhibit, this defendant exhibit 35. Did it say anything about Officer Howard gonna get another officer in the head?
It says right there, yes.
Do you consider that violent? If you're gonna hit another officer in the head, would you consider that violent?
Yes.
Did Mr. Marlin inform you about this act of violence or this act of untruthfulness about Mr. Marlin, Mr. Howard at any time?
No.
Now, you said that you was involved in this case in 2011. You went to the crime scene, sir.
Sycamore Drive, yes.
More. You said something about a cow leg. You know, as far as the individual who came, who reviewed the server on Officer Howard's car.
He removed, I believe, the hard drive from Officer Howard's car.
The hard drive.
That's what the video is recorded to.
How do you know he done it?
I was told he was the one that did that.
Who told it to you?
I believe Mr. Mullin told me that when we had the meeting that day in March. I was not aware who did it prior to that.
So that was March 2015. Mr. Marlin told you that.
Right.
So you didn't have to know. You didn't know anything pertaining to Kyle Blade in 2011.
I knew he worked in IMD, but I didn't know he had gone to the scene and was the one who removed the hard drive from that video recorder. nothing other than he asked me to review the server that we had moved all that video to store long-term to see what was on, what was the last recording from Tony's hard drive, what it was.
Did Mr. Malone show you the prior, anything before you done that? Did he show you the server or what Mr. Black allegedly did pertaining to the server? Did he show you any evidence on that?
No,
So you really had no way of knowing that whether Mr. Black did an investigation on the server or not?
no, all I know is what I was told.
And that will lead you to doing your investigation?
Correct.
Mr. Black never told you that himself, that he removed the server off Howard Court?
No.
No further questions?
Anything else?
Chief, two matters there,
Mhm.
2002 and 2000. Any of those change your opinion of Tony Howard at all, of your understanding of the reputation of the community for peacefulness and truthfulness?
No.
And the matter as far as the 2002, where you saw in there basically where it was an administrative matter, where there was an idea that Tony Howard may not have worn the appropriate uniform at an off-duty job. Was that what you understood from reading that?
Yes.
And there was basically some idea that he indicated he thought he wore the appropriate uniform, and they indicated he did not? Is that what you
Correct.
understood?
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
Chief, do you think a lie is a lie, regardless who tells it when, how, and why?
That's argumentative.
Yes. A lie is a lie.
So if you lie about a uniform, or you lying about diving through the car one, a lie is a lie, right?
A lie is a lie.
Have either one told you that Officer Tony Howard would come through the one that grabbed me on March 22nd, 2011? Dive through the car one that grabbed me. Have anybody told you that, sir?
That what happened?
Officer Howard dived through his car one and grabbed me on March 22nd, 2011. Did you know that?
That's misleading, Chief.
How long you been an officer, sir?
30 years, 31 in August.
Out of your 31 years, have you personally ever dived through a car when they're trying to grab somebody?
On a traffic stop, I have.
I mean, through your
Not
own
out of the car, that,
Let me rephrase that.
Let him answer the question. He asked the question, and he started answering and didn't get the answer he wanted. So you ought to be permitted to answer the question.
I have reached into a car on traffic stops, yes.
Have you ever been sitting in your driver's seat? Come through the car when it died with somebody in 31 years. Have you ever done that?
I have not had a necessity to do that, no.
Do they teach y'all, do y'all teach y'all officers that dive through the car when on somebody while they sitting in their driver's seat?
While they're sitting where?
In the driver's seat. Do y'all teach y'all officers to literally dive out the car when them folks?
I guess the circumstance would dictate what you're,
To ask that question at all, Judge. That's a misleading question.
I guess the situation would dictate how you would behave.
I'm asking, do you teach them in police academy? Do you teach it?
Not that I recall.
Have you ever heard of any law enforcement in the country teaching that?
I'm not up to speed on other agencies, but not that I'm familiar with.
Are you familiar with the Adams Clark County Police Department high-risk traffic stop protocol?
Yes.
Okay, tell us what you know about it.
In terms of,
Entirety.
if you're conducting a high-risk traffic stop, normally you would call in the tag prior to making the stop, but that's, can be done that way or not. Turn your blue lights and siren on, call for other, notify central dispatch what you're doing, why you're making the stop, why it's a high risk, whatever information you have, you would try to notify central of. Activate your blue lights and siren, position your car in a safe manner behind the offender's vehicle.
Why would you position that car in a safe manner behind the suspect vehicle?
Well, that's what we do all traffic stops, behind the suspect vehicle.
Do you do that to keep safety for the officer and safety for the citizen? Is that why you do that?
Officer safety, yes.
Okay, so just say if any traffic stop, high-risk traffic stop, if the officer had this car parked pertaining to a protocol with an engine block between the officer and the suspect, would it also allow the
that's the theory behind putting your car between yourself and the offender.
Okay, so if a high-risk traffic stop, officer pull over his car and he has his car parked according to protocol, and the suspect get out on the passenger side of the vehicle, will the suspect also be on the passenger side of the officer's vehicle?
That is a leading question, Judge.
Would the officer passenger side of his car be on the passenger side of the suspect vehicle if he parks according to protocol?
If you were following the vehicle and pulled in behind it to pull it over, yes, they would be the same.
Okay. And do you think the officer vehicle as well as the suspect vehicle would be matched up on the passenger side?
Driver to driver, passenger to passenger, if you were behind the vehicle, yes.
Yes. And is that the way y'all teach our officers to do it as the Clark County Police Department pertaining to a high-risk traffic stop and any other traffic stop, sir?
You would be behind the passenger, yes, you'd be behind the vehicle that you were stopping, passenger to passenger, driver to driver side.
No further questions. Thank you, sir.
Nothing further.
Yes, sir.
Call the next witness.
I'd like to call Ms. Rebecca Shaw-Harrell. Ma'am, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give to the court and the jury on the matter currently pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Could you please state your name for the court and the jury, please, ma'am?
Rebecca Harold.
What is your current position, ma'am?
I'm a special agent with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
How long have you been a special agent for the GBI, ma'am?
Next month is going to be 13 years.
Are you a certified law enforcement officer in the state of Georgia, ma'am?
I am.
How long have you been certified, ma'am?
13 years.
Ma'am, do you recall being involved in the Omar Ray December 28, 2010 case, ma'am?
Yes.
Was you also involved in the March 22nd, 2011 through March 25th, 2011 case pertaining to me, defendant Jamie Hood?
Yes, I was involved.
Okay. Let's start with these Selma case with Mr. Omar Ray. How did you come to get involved in that case, ma'am?
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation is a law enforcement request agency, which means that we assist local law enforcement agencies when they call us and they've got a major felony case to investigate. So that particular night, the Athens Clark County Police Department called me and I responded.
Who called you, ma'am, from the Athens Clark County Police Department?
Sergeant Jerry Salters.
What did you and Mr. Shaw talk to? What did y'all talk about pertaining to the Omar Ray case, ma'am?
At that particular time, it was around midnight when he called me, and he just told me that there was a homicide, and he asked for me to be en route, and he gave me an address to respond to.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I got you off track. Please forgive me. I have another line of question to ask you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Ma'am, do you recall having an interview with Jadon Brooks on March 28, 2011?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you recall a Detective Jeff Clark being with you at the time, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, do you recall Jadon Brooks telling you and Detective Clark anything about somebody robbing me and shooting in my car?
I do recall that.
Okay, could you tell us what you recall, ma'am?
I would object to going into that, but that's hearsay. You played a portion of that be asked to say, can you tell us what Jadon Brooks said, is simply repeating what we've already played and what's already been introduced and offered into evidence and played for this jury. So I would object to it as far as being cumulative in that regard. And he'd already asked Detective Clark about that as well, and that would be cumulative as well.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, he brought 6, 7, 8 witnesses on me talking about the alleged hostage. James Wood said this.
Speak to this
Okay.
issue.
It's the same thing, and I'm doing it for investigation. And he said that GBI investigated this issue.
Answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, but this is relevant to it. And again, he can't tell me who to call or how many. I didn't tell him that. So it's.
I'm only dealing with the objections to that question.
Okay.
And I'm going to sustain that objection. You can ask her a question about the investigation.
Okay, that is part of the investigation.
Sustain that
Okay.
objection.
Okay, well, if I say something objective, but yeah, how can I object because this is the heart of my case. They put a murder case on me, and these people investigated, so I have a right to ask them questions to get the truth out about the investigation. And he knows she was there.
Mr. Hood, well,
Okay, but,
we saw the video.
yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
just ask a question about it.
Okay, well, he was telling me I can't. Well, I just
Ask,
asked you, tell me I
don't
can't.
ask what she saw, just ask a question about what she
Fine.
did.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, did Jadon Brooks tell you that Jamie looked at Jamie's car and it got a bullet hole in it, and he was wrong?
He did make a statement about there being 2 bullet holes in your vehicle.
Okay, did he also make a statement about me being wrong?
Yes, he did.
Okay, did he make a statement to you that he knew that I was wrong before I told it to him?
I don't recall that.
Is it possible that he said it and you just forgot it?
It's possible.
Okay, now, if Jadon Brooks make a statement that I was wrong and he knew I was wrong, did you investigate how he knew?
No, we did not,
Why not?
because that wasn't relevant at the time to what we were doing.
Okay. What went through your mind when Jadon Brooks told you to look at Jamie Cadillac and you see a bullet hole in the door?
I don't know exactly what went through my mind then. I mean, I was just taking notes and taking down what he was saying.
Did you investigate the bullet hole in my door? Did y'all do any type of investigation on the bullet hole in that Cadillac door on the passenger side?
I did not do any kind of what you're calling an investigation. We've got crime scene specialists that examined your Cadillac, but I was not one of those crime scene specialists. I know that was done, but that was not my role in this investigation.
Okay. Did you report to one of the GBI crime scene specialists, hey, y'all need to check out Jamie Hood Cadillac because Mr. Brooks said he's been wrong?
I believe the Cadillac may have already been processed at that time before I found out that information. So I did not make I did not have a specific conversation with the crime scene specialist about that.
Okay, do you recall the shell casing being found in the backseat of my Cadillac that matched the shell casing at the scene of Omar Ray case?
I do recall that.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that, what you recall about that.
That there was a shell casing that was found in the back of your Cadillac. It was in the area where the seatbelt kind of connects, that little area. I'm trying to think of what you would call that, but that's where it was found.
Okay, did it ever occur to you that the people who robbed Jamie and this bullet hole in Jamie Cadillac could have some connection to this shell casing that you found in my car?
That did not occur to me because the statement that was told to me when we did interview Jadon Brooks was that your car was shot at and that you had to flee off to get away from them. And that to me says that the person was outside the vehicle shooting at your vehicle.
Was you sure the person was outside?
According to that statement, if I was going with what he told me, then they would have been outside.
But if you were doing your own investigation, you could have found out further information if you choose to. What you say?
I was not investigating a robbery that was never reported that I'm aware of to the police department.
But you was investigating this alleged carjacking. Is that correct?
Which carjacking?
This alleged carjacking, the Jadon Brooks carjacking. Y'all was
The
investigating.
carjack, yes,
Okay.
Jadon Brooks, yes.
Was that why you talking to him? Was that what led you to investigate?
We were talking
Sustained.
Okay. Why would y'all not investigate a bullet hole in my Cadillac door, and y'all know y'all investigating me for a murder?
We were investigating the murder, and we were investigating what happened with Jadon Brooks. What happened with you previously would have come through a police report that I'm not aware of any being made about a robbery involving you.
Okay, but y'all put several alleged hostage charges on me based on what other people say. Did y'all do that?
No, that's argumentative, Judge.
Sustained.
How often in your career have you failed to thoroughly investigate a case?
That's argumentative as well to go.
Sustained.
So at this time, you don't know if nobody from the GBI or the prosecutor office ever investigated this bullet hole in my Cadillac door that was told to you?
I know that your car was processed and the defects that were found in the vehicle were documented. As far as the robbery that you're talking about, no. That was not investigated by the GBI.
Okay, did anybody write in a report anywhere in law enforcement, hey, we got a hole right here in Jamie Hood car door, we just stuck a trajectory rod in the door to see what happened? Do you see any reports on that at all?
I can't testify as to what the crime scene specialist noted about that. That would be whether they put trajectory rods. I don't understand your question.
It'd be hard to understand something you investigate when you say.
Your Honor, no, that's argumentative, objection.
Sustained.
I don't see why I'm asking questions, she did no investigation. So I don't need to be asking questions.
That's up to you.
They take the call, so I don't need to ask.
Cross-examination?
Oh, no, I ain't finished. I was just talking about, no, I was talking about on the issue.
Oh, I guess I'm
I ain't finished. Tell us about them shell cases. What you know about them shell casing from the Omar Racing matching this shell casing in the back of that Cadillac?
I know that they were both, excuse me, they were all .40 caliber CCI shell casings, and they matched according to the GBI crime lab.
When did you find out they all matched? What date did you find out that this shell case from Mr. Ray's case matched the shell case in the back of that Cadillac?
I don't recall what date that was.
Do you have any notes on it?
I don't think I have notes on when I found that out, no,
Why you didn't write?
because that's not a report to write, that I found something out. That the crime lab writes a report is whether there's a match or not. I'm not the one doing the examination. Had I done that, I would have done a report.
Was you investigating Omar Ray case?
Yes,
Okay, now are they saying that this shell casing in my car would link me to the Omar Ray case physical? Are they saying that?
Your Honor, I don't know who they is, but that would obviously be hearsay, whoever they is.
Sustained.
Well, how could it be hearsay? They done put a whole nother murder case on me, and throughout this whole case, he said the jury they done found the shell case and linked to his case. How can it be hearsay? They done told it to him, and they done charged me with it. How can it be hearsay?
Sustained.
I'd like to object for the record, Your Honor. I feel like you're being biased and prejudiced toward me in favor of this prosecutor. You sustained the objection to you that they got me charged with a whole murder, and you won't let me ask your question now.
Objections, no. You can ask another question.
After you found out about these shell cases, what you do?
I don't know the specific date that I found out about the shell casings, but there were several people that we were interviewing, and there were a lot of things going on in the investigation. Obviously, it was several different investigations, so I couldn't tell you specifically what I was doing then.
Okay. When did you find out they put this whole other murder charge on me? What date did that happen?
Your Honor, that's not relevant at all and argumentative.
All were,
When did I find out that you were charged with murder?
The Omar Ray murder, ma'am. That specific one.
I don't recall the date that they actually took the warrants.
You know,
I don't.
what date did you find out that I was charged then?
I believe I just answered that. I don't know what date that the warrants were taken. It would have been that date that I found that out, but I'm not sure what date that was.
Other than that, when you find out?
Okay, Could you be more specific? I don't know what you're
I
asking me.
just go on. It's not misleading. They sitting here got me charged with a murder. They talking about they don't know when I was charged. That's ludicrous.
Ask another question.
Are you on some type of medication or something that causing you can't remember?
He was asked those questions.
But this a
He has
new
no
witness.
faith.
I
It's
will
not
say
proper
that
with any witness. Unless he has
It's
the
not.
patience to do that.
Not proper with any witness.
It's not proper for them to come up here and say they don't recall every time I ask them a question either.
Ask another question.
Did the prosecutor tell you that you can't recall every question I asked?
No,
Well, why you doing that?
I can't.
Argument is sustained.
Well, Judge, don't the prosecutor got to make his own objection?
He didn't have to.
Are you gonna make some objection for me then sometime?
I might.
Okay, I appreciate it. Let's talk about the Lamar Ray case, ma'am. Again, how you first get involved in this case, ma'am?
Sergeant Jerry Salters with the Athens Clarke County Police Department contacted me and requested my assistance.
Did Sergeant Salter tell you anything about some marijuana pertaining to Lamar Ray during your talk with him?
Not during my initial talk with him.
At any time during your talk with him? What, did y'all ever discuss any marijuana?
I believe so.
Say you think so?
Yes.
Well, tell us about that.
What part about the marijuana was
Just tell us what you know.
I know that Amari Ray was scheduling a drug deal he was supposed to sell marijuana to Michael Howington, and Michael Howington was texting him shortly before he was murdered.
How many people did you interview during your investigation of the Lamar Ray case before March 22nd, 2011?
I don't have an exact number, but several, 30 maybe. I mean, I'm just guessing. I'm not really sure how many specific people. I did neighborhood canvases as well as sit-down interviews with people, so I did speak to a lot of people.
Did you make any written reports on any investigation that you made?
Yes, I did.
Do you have them with you?
I do.
Could you tell us, look at your report and tell us what you don't?
You want interviews that I specifically did, as opposed to other investigators as well?
We just talked about you for now.
Okay. Would you like me to count the briefings with the other police officers as well?
Sure.
Okay. I have 20 specific interviews that I have individual summaries for, and I also have a neighborhood canvas in here as well, so I'm not sure exactly how many people without finding that particular summary.
When you interviewed people prior to March 22nd, 2011, did anybody ever mention that Jamie Hood killed Lamar Ray?
No, I did not.
Did you interview Veronica Harper?
I did.
Andrea Long? Brian Mackey?
I did.
Courtney Storm?
Yes.
Tanya Nation?
Yes.
And Jadon Brooks?
Yes.
Interviewed with me. Did any of the people that you interviewed from December 20, 2010 until March 22nd, 2011 report any threat towards Lamar Ray's life?
All that would be hearsay with respect to going into what people
people said that there were Facebook threats that he had received.
Tell us about that.
Everybody that we spoke to that mentioned that he had received a threat, nobody knew